I'm sure there are going to be a few people watching this that just don't really care about making money on music. They just love music and they're doing it for fun. It's a hobby, it's a passion thing, and I completely respect that. Fully and truly. I love music so much, and whether I was making money off of it or not, I would still be doing it. And I think that that's the most important thing. But if you are a little bit frustrated and you're willing to give it a try and make money for you, there are a couple of things you can start doing in order to make sure you're not disabling yourself when trying to enter this marketplace. As somebody who's worked so many jobs, I've worked construction jobs, I worked in hospitality for years, I've done retail, I've been a salesperson, I went to business school before I dropped out of business school. I worked for KPMG, I was in accounting-ish kind of spaces as an intern, and I don't know, I've done a lot of different things. I've learned that there are certain jobs that take away from your ability to add to your music career. There are certain things you do that disable you when it comes to working towards your goals. And there are certain things that I just couldn't have known because I didn't have the right mentors around me that I do now and I practice now every single day. But no matter what industry or what sub-industry of music you're trying to make money in, no matter what you're trying to do, one of the worst mistakes you can do is do something that's physically laborious. I know sometimes that's the only thing we can do, especially if we have families or we have, people to feed. But working construction, working a job where I was really using my body a lot, even though I was in shape, I was going to the gym 6 days a week, it still was kind of taxing on me in a way that I wasn't realizing when I got home. I kind of just wanted to sit and not do a lot of thinking. I used to think that just because I was using my body, I wouldn't necessarily need to use my mind and I would still have energy to work on music when I got home. And this was absolutely not the case at all for me. I was so exhausted by 6 months, 5 months in. I realized I wasn't motivated at all to get work done, and I didn't have any more energy than the next guy who would get home and just get straight to his beers and kind of just like live his life as a construction worker. And that to me was my first red flag, to not work extremely intensive jobs, even if it's paying more money. I took a big pay cut. I was already sleeping on the floor in a really small apartment. We didn't have any, my family was homeless for a period of my life. And I had to make money somehow, so I got into hospitality. And something in hospitality, this is after trying retail not necessarily making enough money quickly enough for me, but I got into hospitality because I wanted to make some more money, I wanted to invest in gear, I wanted to invest in my career, and hospitality was the first time where I saw a lot of people abusing substances around me consistently. And if you're somebody who has an addictive personality, if you're somebody who knows that you might be caught up in the wrong things, there is no such thing as occasionally abusing substances and being okay, or being, reliable and cool. Some people are high-functioning substance abusers. I don't think that that's the way you should be going. And the second rule that I kind of learned, because certain people around me that I decided to work with, meeting them in hospitality, were abusing substances. Were definitely addicts, but it just wasn't very apparent. You should really steer clear of places that can get you in trouble, especially when you're trying to work on music, because people, when they're trying to make it in music, can be very desperate, can be very emotional, can be very creative and not have an outlet for it. And substances is something that just has a tendency of getting in the way. This could be something as simple as smoking and having an attachment to that, because hospitality is really high stress and everyone smokes. Everyone does. And smoking is horrible for your voice. If you don't use your voice very much, then that's fine. But if you want a nice, healthy, clear tone, you want to kind of avoid that, right? And so that was kind of the second rule. Don't put yourself in a situation where if you're going to be... I don't have an addictive personality at all, but I saw other people that were artists and creative people really fall into a spiral that way, and you don't want to do that. The next thing I think that is really important for you to kind of consider in your friend group or in the people that are around you, even your family, look at the people who are relying on other people. Something I didn't notice in my immediate family is that sometimes people had the tendency to really rely on people they shouldn't. My dad was out of the picture fairly young, and I think there was still a part of the family that wished he would show up and kind of like fix things a little bit. I never had that mentality because I never expected anything from him, but I saw how that could get to people. How because they were waiting on somebody else to figure something out for them, they would never be brave enough to go and tackle the problem themselves. This is something that happened to me as an artist. Sometimes I would maybe rely on a manager or rely on a producer or rely on this person or that person expecting them to be the ticket, the solution. But there is no ticket out. If you kind of like, if you're feeling that way about a relationship, if you feel like you have to rely on somebody in order to save yourself or to have a break, you're thinking the wrong way, and it's not going to work out. You have to be willing to do things on your own, or not expect people to do anything, and just build relationships and be friends with people and just be cool, find like-minded people, and let things fall together the way they're supposed to. To the contrary, if you do expect something from somebody, don't expect it from them for free. Don't expect them to be reliable. Don't expect anything at all from them unless there's some kind of contract that's on the table, because people are just going to disappoint you. And if you do have people around you who are always relying on people, who are always waiting on people, always hoping people would do things for them, then you might become somebody who's like, well, I should be relying on a producer. I should be relying on an instrumentalist or a writer or a team or this and that. And this kind of takes me to the next point. I got caught up with people multiple times who were all about having teams, having a machine, having multiple people inside of the kind of mechanism of song creation, having a drum guy or having a really good guitarist and having a really good writer and all these different pieces to the puzzle. And I got caught up in thinking that I had to be like that. They kept pushing it on me. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I do need more help than I think. In the meantime, there were people across the world like Calvin Harris. There's actually a really long list of people, very, very talented individuals that just sit down and they pump out records by themselves with very, very little help just because they're having fun and they're doing what they do. Now, not everyone's going to be able to do this. Not everyone is Calvin Harris. But before I met those individuals, I was doing that. I was doing everything on my own, and I was very happy. I was enjoying the process way more than I was enjoying it when people were telling me how to do it. Not everyone's path is going to be the same. You have to just figure out a way to finish a song. However that is, finish it. Once you finish a song, do it again 9 more times. That could be with somebody else, without a team, with a huge team, whatever it is. The way that you finish those first 10 songs, that is the way you're going to be finishing the rest of the songs for the rest of your career. Some people work in teams, some people don't. But don't let anyone tell you how your team and your process is supposed to look for you. Just focus on finishing. And the next thing I want to talk about kind of has to do with this as well, because so many people try and make money in this space when they have no real work to show for it. If you don't have 100 songs in a hard drive ready to pitch yourself, if you don't have a ton of reference material, if you don't have a bunch of stuff you can show people, you are never going to be able to sell yourself. All right? You're never going to be able to pitch yourself. People are never going to really take you seriously. If you want a publishing deal, when I was in publishing, and I'm still in publishing, but when I got into the publishing space, the amount of output you have to have in order to keep up with that deal, like in order to make back up that cash, like you have to grind. You have to put so many songs together. People don't realize that. So like your ability to finish songs is your biggest asset. So try and finish songs as much as you can. And I guess the kind of last piece of advice I have for you when it comes to making money in music is when you get to a point where you're good enough, that is when people will pay you. One of the best pieces of advice someone told me regarding this was that a lot of people are frustrated and feel like things aren't fair. Like the world isn't fair. Like I should be making more money, but I'm not. And people should be paying me for my work, but they don't want to. Well, especially in the creative field, it's pretty fair. You're just not good enough. That was the advice I was given. Boy, was that ever true. I mean, I thought I was worth so much money in that I should be getting paid for my mixes. I should be getting paid for any single thing that I do as a producer, as an engineer. But that's completely unreasonable and unrealistic. The second I got good enough, there were people who showed up out of the woodwork who were willing to pay me a lot of money for whatever I did. And it was interesting because I didn't have to force it. I didn't have to push anybody. I didn't have to sell myself. I just had to become good enough. Now, in order to become good enough, sometimes what that takes is doing a lot of free work. And a lot of people are uncomfortable with that. But doing free work is the way that you build your catalog. Doing free work is the way you build a network. If you mix maybe 100 different records, if you mix 100 records for free, you're lucky if that converts to 5, maybe 10 new clients if you're really good. Okay? So just be prepared to have to put in a lot of work to turn it into money. And find a job that doesn't take too much energy away from you but gives you enough money in the meantime. Hospitality is a good one if you don't have a propensity for addiction or propensity for substance abuse. If that's not the case, sales is another good space to do that, but not the best if you're a singer because it can leave you really, really tired if you don't know how to conserve your voice, if you don't know how to project, if you don't know how to make sure you have enough energy vocally, if you're a singer-songwriter. If you're a producer, go for it. Sales is a really, really good space to make enough money, and it's a good place to learn how to kind of sell at the same time, because even though you don't want to oversell yourself, you're still going to need the ability to communicate and to negotiate and make a sale. So that's kind of my topical advice on any of you who are trying to make money in business or music business. It's a tricky road to go down, but I hope this helps out to start. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys later. Ciao.